Hi, I'm Michael Sinoff, founder and CEO of HardToFindSeminars.com. For the last 5 years, I've interviewed the world's best business and marketing minds. Now my challenge is to build the world's largest free resource for online, downloadable audio business interviews. I've learned a lot in the last 5 years, and today I'm going to show you the skills you need to survive.
Don Soderquist, he used to be a fairly high-ranking person at Wal-Mart. He one time said, selling to Wal-Mart is not a difficult process. It's pretty straightforward. And really it is. And it's a lot of stuff that you have to learn. But once you learn it, regardless of what product you're carrying, you're probably going to be successful. I love to think you're going to be successful. And that's why we do what we do. Getting a product into Wal-Mart or any of these large mass merchandisers is like winning the lottery to an entrepreneur or a product developer. I want to shed some light onto the reality of this subject, and obviously it's been done before because Wal-Mart is filled with products, but I want you, through your experience, to talk about your trials and tribulations and your frustrations and your successes and how you did it, and maybe someone listening to this, it can give them a more realistic view of how to do it and things to avoid, and we'll just kind of talk about your story. Okay. So how did you, Lonnie, start in all this? Give me the genesis of even being an entrepreneur. Were you an employee for someone before you got into trying to get your own stuff into Walmart? Well, yeah, I've been involved in consumer packaged goods now for about 22 years. So explain, what is a consumer packaged good? Consumer packaged goods is companies that manufacture items for resale. When you think of CPG, that's what we abbreviate as, CPG manufacturers. We're thinking of people like Procter & Gamble, Unilever, General Mills, Quaker, Pepsi-Cola, or PepsiCo. That's a CPG company as well. Okay, so I'm thinking Coca-Cola, cereals, soaps, things like that. What about Procter & Gamble? Procter & Gamble is a consumer packaged goods company, without a doubt, yes. As a matter of fact, ironically, I started my career with Procter & Gamble years ago, back in the early 80s, covering pretty diverse territory for them. So that's kind of where I got started into the business. As a sales rep? As a sales rep, yes. What were you selling, their whole line? No, really, Procter & Gamble at the time had 7 divisions, and the division that I worked for was bar soap and household cleaning products. So I sold the soaps like Coast and Zest and Ivory, and the household cleaning products like Downy and Mr. Clean, Top Job. Now, there was also a division that sold packaged soaps and detergents, so I wasn't a part of that division. I was a part of the other division that complemented that. And then, of course, it had 6 other divisions besides those 2. So what was your job with them? Sales rep. And so what I did was I walked into retailers, and I would call on retail outlets. And back in the days that I started, there were still a lot of independent grocers left around. So you call on independent grocers, you really got a better understanding of how grocery worked, because these guys that you called on, Michael, were responsible for everything. They're responsible for their entire P&L. Their entire family's livelihood relied upon them doing well in grocery. And there's very small margins in the grocery business. Oh, we used to call them razor thin. We had this little deal where we used to go out and we took a dollar bill and we would mark this dollar bill off based upon how much money went where for the retailer. And in terms of profits, we had less than a penny marked off on the dollar bill. Per dollar. Per dollar, yeah. So it's like 1% profit. So you're looking at about 1% is what they're actually getting at the end of the day. Even though they work on higher margins, at the end of the day they're getting about 1 penny out of every dollar goes towards profits. That's the way it was back then. And now, of course, with the new bigger retailers like Walmart, it might even be less. So what did you learn by calling on the independents? What is it you learned from them that made it valuable for today? Number one, you understand the whole grocery business, the whole supply chain. You understand where it starts, where the whole life cycle starts out in the field, and you also learn how it gets into the stores, how to mark up, what kind of margins they're operating on, different types of overhead, for instance, labor and things of that nature. What's the greatest amount of overhead? I guess the biggest thing you learn is how to be a retailer. For instance, at a chain store, you only see one side of it. At an independent store where the person owns it, you see everything. When you would meet with an independent owner, you met with not only the person that was in charge of marketing, you met with the person that was in charge of operations, you met with the human resources manager and everything in that one individual. And so you learned a lot about the business calling on independents back then. Now they've all gone along the wayside. There's not a lot of independent grocers left anymore. There's very few. They've been eaten up by the chains. Just gone out of business. Well, yeah. There's a lot of negative press out there now on Wal-Mart in terms of what they've done to the independent grocer. But I think all chains have that responsibility as well, because When I started calling on back in the 80s, Wal-Mart didn't have a supercenter, but independent grocers were going out of business left and right, and Wal-Mart wasn't around at that point. So it's just the evolution of the business. It's not just about Wal-Mart. It's chain operators can do it bigger. They're more efficient. They have bigger buying power than mom-and-pop grocery stores.
All right, working for Procter & Gamble, they're a huge company. Do they have influence that gave them a huge edge, even to get into the independents and even the mass merchandisers, that the small guy, the guys with a dream and a product who want to try and get in, the little guy? I mean, obviously, how can a little guy compete with such a powerful force like Procter & Gamble?
That's always been a source of contention for a lot of folk as well when they dealt with big companies. Procter & Gamble never had much influence, as much so as they had excellent products.
So they really were a great product company.
Oh, without a doubt. Procter & Gamble, they were very cautious. They were very measured about how they did things. And when they came out with new items, you better believe that it had been tested and tested and tested and tested again, to the point where it almost ended up, Michael, being a detriment to Procter & Gamble. There's this old story about Procter & Gamble and Love, or Pampers, I'm not real sure which one it was, and how Procter & Gamble was a leader in the market and how Huggies took that, because if you look on the side of a diaper, it has those little sticky things that stick. Procter & Gamble was scared that little tiny plastic piece that came off of the adhesive piece, they wanted to make sure no kids would choke on it. They tested and retested. In the meantime, Huggies, Kimberly-Clark rolled out with theirs, and boom. So they were able to take advantage of that. And so the whole idea behind test markets, which was a solid proposition, started to go away as well, because it's like, look, if we want to get our product to market fast, we don't have time to test market it. We need to get it out into the stores.
All right, what did you do after working for Procter & Gamble?
After Procter & Gamble, I went and I worked for Frito-Lay, which is a division of PepsiCo. There are essentially two types of distribution methods in consumer packaged goods. There's warehouse, where the product is made by the company and shipped through warehouse and shipped to the customer's warehouse and then out to the customer stores.
I want to back up so I understand. So would this fall into the category for Frito-Lay?
No.
Would that fall in the category for what Procter & Gamble was doing?
That would fall in the category for Procter & Gamble.
Okay, so give me an example.
Well, first of all, Procter & Gamble manufactured the soap in their manufacturing facility, okay? So there's a case of soap. Now, a customer would place an order for a case of soap.
And a customer could be a chain of grocery stores.
In the grocery stores, right. They would place an order and say, send me a truckload of this soap. So, for instance, that purchase order would go to their order processing area. The order would be processed, the truck would be loaded, and the truck would go directly to the customer's warehouse, where it would be loaded and slotted into the warehouse.
And then it's distributed to their stores from the warehouse.
That's what we call warehouse. Now, the other delivery system is called direct store delivery, and we abbreviate that as DSD. And what direct store delivery does, for instance, let's go with Frito-Lay. Frito-Lay manufactures their chips. They fry their chips and they put them in bags. Instead of putting them in cases and shipping those cases directly to the customer's warehouse, they put those chips on the back of trucks, and the Frito-Lay delivery person goes out to the store every day and delivers the chips directly to the store. And that's what we call DSD. And you can see that when you go to the stores in the morning, you'll see a lot of bread trucks, a lot of Frito trucks, a lot of cake trucks, and even some frozen food trucks delivering right there that morning.
Is that a necessity because of the short lifespan of the product, or why do we see some products delivered that way directly to the stores compared to warehouse? Why won't they just ship to warehouse and let the stores do their own distribution?
The reason they don't do that is, again, just like you said, it's part of that perishable nature of the product. You probably got a point with Frito-Lay, because with Frito-Lay, their product has 60 to 90-day shelf life on it. You could literally take that through most warehouses and not lose. But the direct store delivery piece that Frito-Lay has put in place enables Frito-Lay to always make sure that their product's on the shelf, they're touching their product every day.
They're going in looking at their shelf space. They're making sure it looks neat, their display, their point of purchase.
Now, you take a company like Wal-Mart, they have such an efficient supply chain. They could literally take that through the warehouse and probably do just about as good a job getting it to the stores as the DSD guys. The problem you have, though, is once it gets to the stores, who's going to touch it? And so that's where the DSD guys, they will fight going through the warehouse tooth and nail.
So they don't want to go through a warehouse because they know that's going to hurt their sales in the long run.
Yeah, I think they know that.
Hi, it's Michael Senoff with HardToFindSeminars.com. Thanks for watching this video. You know, many of my interviews last 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, sometimes even up to 2.5 hours long. They're actual mini seminars, and you've just listened to a short sample of just one of over 117 hours of exciting, hard-hitting, mind-blowing interviews on how to make money in direct mail, advertising, copywriting. I assure you, there is not a resource anywhere on the internet or on the planet that comes close to the free information I provide at hardtofindseminars.com. So go right now to hardtofindseminars.com and you'll have free access to 117 hours of audio interviews with typed word-for-word downloadable transcripts and downloadable MP3 files. Please browse some more of the videos or go right directly to hardtofindseminars.com. Thanks for watching.